This video was originally recorded March 2019 during the ongoing Force for Good class series. To learn more about this annual series, please visit tibethouse.us.
Why I'm here. No.
No.
Okay.
We're happy that you're there. We're not wondering.
So,
Well, we're always wondering. You're a wonder. So that's okay.
So, Tenzin Bob and Katie very sweetly asked me to lead a chant today, and I will be accompanied by no one other than him. We switched positions for the moment.
And
Noah, and our cellist Noah.
Noah.
So I'm not sure how many of you have been to the last couple of talks, but today Tenzin wanted to talk about the goddess, particularly Kali. So he asked me to sing a chant to the goddess. So I thought I'll start with a little invocation. It's called Devi Pranam. Devi meaning goddess and Pranam to bow. And it's in Sanskrit, so it's just a few verses basically honoring the goddess as knowledge, the reliever of difficulties, the remover of thoughts, negative thoughts, and who is love and light herself and helps us across the sea of difficulties. And that's basically the words. And then we'll sing, call and response, we'll sing Shri Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma. Okay? And there'll be some names and you can repeat them after me. Thanks. Shivam Shanti Karim Brahmanim Brahmana Priyam Sarvaloka Pranatrincha Pranamami Sada Shivam Mangalam Shobhanam Shubham Nishkalam Paramam Kalam Vishveshwarim Vishwamatam Chandikam Pranamamyaham Sarvadevamayim Devim Sarvaroga Bhayapaham Brahmesha Vishnu Namitam Pranamami Sada Shivam Vindhyastham Vindhyanilayam Divyasthana Nivashinim Yoginim Yoga Jananim Chandikam Pranamamyaham Ishanamataram Devi Ishwari Ishvara Priyam Pranatosmi Sada Durga Samsara Navatarini Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Jai Jagatambe Ma Durga Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Jai Jagatambe Ma Durga Jai Jagatambe Ma Durga Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Chamunde Kali Durga Ma Jai Chamunde Kali Durga Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Chamunde Kali Durga Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Mahadevi Lalita Mahadevi Lalita Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Mahadevi Lalita Mahadevi Lalita Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Jaya Jagatambe Ma Durga Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Jaya Jagatambe Ma Durga Jaya Jagatambe Ma Durga Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Bhairavi Jagatarini Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Bhairavi Jagatarini Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai 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 Jai Ma Chamunde Kali Durga Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Shri Ma Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Shima Jai Ma Jai Jai Ma Ma Jai Shima Jai 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 Ma Shri 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 Jagat Janani Jagadamba Maya Ki Jai.
Woo-wee. That's good. That's good. May I say one thing? I'd like to make an announcement that everyone should be praying, please, for Ram Das, Sri Ram Das, who's having serious health issues today, tonight, at this minute. And I think at some time during the evening we should therefore do some Hanuman
We'll do a Chalisa.
at some point. But please send your loving and healing thoughts to one of our dear colleagues and gurus and friends of Sri Ram Das. What do you think?
Good
Couldn't
idea.
we
Yeah.
dedicate the evening to that?
Yeah, we're good. Keep that.
You do a good drum.
I don't know how much longer I could have played. I was praying for it to end as soon as possible. So I wouldn't die on stage. So beautiful. You know, Maharaji once said that Ram Das was like Christ for the Westerners.
He's like what?
He said Ram Das was like Christ
Like Christ.
for the Westerners there, because we wouldn't have known about him
Yes.
if it wasn't for Ram Das coming back and shooting his mouth off. When Maharaji sent Ram Das back to America, he said, "Don't talk about me," he said. "Don't talk about me." So he comes back, all he could do was talk about him. He couldn't talk about anything else. But he never said his name or where to find him, so, which was the idea.
Didn't he write it in the book, though? It was written in Beaver.
No, his name was...
Really? Not mentioned?
Neem Karoli Baba was
really?
not in the book.
No
The name
kidding.
was not in the book.
I see.
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
And he built a Durga temple, Maharaji did, in the courtyard in Kenchi.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. First, for many years, it was a Hanuman temple, which was the first one, and then a Shiva temple, and Lakshmi Narayan, a Vishnu and Lakshmi. But then in 1972, he had another temple built on the other side of the courtyard for Durga. So in that part of the mountains, Kali was worshipped mostly by the villagers. So they asked him, "Why didn't you build a Kali temple?" He said, "Are you kidding? If I built a Kali temple, those miserable villagers would be carrying their goats in here and slaughtering them right here in the temple."
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so he built a temple to Durga, Vindyavasini Durga Devi. Vindyavasini means the Durga, the form of Durga who lives at this place in India called Vindhya Hills.
Oh, yes, in the south, yeah.
No, well, yes, in the south, but this was actually in the north.
Oh,
There's another Vindhya.
I see.
And she's a form of Vaishnavi Devi,
Oh, okay.
which is the Shakti of Vishnu.
Yeah, Vaishnavi Devi.
And she doesn't take any sacrifices at all.
Oh,
You can't even break a coconut in a Vaishnavi Devi temple. You have
Really?
to break it off the temple ground
I see.
and bring it in to offer. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really great.
So,
Vaishnavi is one of the central deities on the lotus in the speech mandala.
can you hear Bob in the back?
I'm sorry, Vaishnavi Devi is central. All the female goddesses, Vaishnavi, Brahmani, Indrani, Uma, etc., the central deities in the speech mandala of the of the Kalachakra mandala. And then around them, 8 petal lotuses, eight petal lotuses are the 64 Vedic speech goddesses, Vagdevi, like, those ones that everyone sings, what are they? Those Vedic hymns to the speech goddesses. Not Saraswati, but anyway, there are 64 of them. So they really move.
Ratri was big in
What?
the Ratri
Yeah.
was big in the Vedas.
Yeah, them too. But there's some. Everyone knows that name, but my brain doesn't produce names sometimes. It's beautiful, really. It's so wonderful. In India, the Vedic people didn't have much goddesses, and except in that context. But then, when Bhakti arose in India, then there are lots of goddesses. And then in Buddhism, in the Tantras, we have Dakini Jala, Sambara, the great bliss of the network of Dakinis, as the very nourishing, as the sort of nature of life, the matrix of life, let's say. So all the great yogis and yoginis celebrate that. So is there any word what Ram Dass is saying or feeling in this?
No.
He's kind of very, in his way, he's very kind of in another level of body, than
Very
what he
much
calls
so.
his meat puppet. But of course he gets dragged into the suffering of the meat puppet,
Yeah.
away from the soul level that he likes so
Yeah.
much. But he must be floating in that soul level, I would say.
Yeah. He's very.
And it's only for our sake he would stay in a broken body, actually. It's only for the sake of... He did the wonderful thing of seeing his original stroke and all his suffering as a gift of his guru.
Yeah.
Actually, helping him free himself from obsession with self in the meat space, or as
The meat space.
John Perry Barlow called it, meat space, or the meat puppet,
Yeah.
from being over-attached to the coarse body, in other words.
Yeah. No, he's really. I've never met anybody so.
You've never what?
I've never met anybody so at peace with whatever arises. He suffers. I mean,
It's
pain,
extraordinary.
every day the pain he has is just
Extraordinary.
diabetic neuropathy and the diabetes, and he's been in a wheelchair for 20 years and
It's amazing.
2 torn rotator cuffs, so he can't turn himself in bed anymore. He can't actually do anything for himself. He can't go to the bathroom by himself. He can't be fed by himself. But he can actually eat with one arm. So, and he's just radiant most of the time, unless he has a terrible fever, and then he gets quiet. But it's so amazing to be around him. Me, I'm gonna complain and bitch and moan. And I'm starting already. I can tell. There's no fucking way I'm gonna deal with this. And he's just.
Well, that's the true Guru Puja, He sees everything as the teaching of his guru.
Yeah, and he lives
That's
it.
the
He lives
devotion.
it.
That's
Yeah,
living
he
it.
really lives
That's
it.
living
It's just beautiful.
And believe me, I knew him 1959 as Dr. Richard Alpert, Professor Dr. Richard Alpert
Professor Alfred.
at
Yeah.
Harvard. He used to drive around in a green Mercedes convertible. And a 4-seater, though, not the 2, small one, a bigger one. He used to tool around in that.
Yeah.
And now he has this vehicle, a teaching vehicle,
Yeah.
of the ability to shine and be loving in the midst of
Yeah.
real agony, really. It's
Yeah.
marvelous. Marvelous inspiration to us all.
Very much. Yeah. It's funny, Maharaji people would always come to Maharaji and ask him for blessings, or if they were sick, they would ask him, to heal them, and if someone was sick, maybe their relatives would come and ask Maharaji to heal their relative. And so one time, the relatives of this man that we knew came, and they said, Baba, you know, you're a devotee, my grandfather's very sick, you know, please, theek ho jayega, theek ho jayega. Everything will be all right. Everything will be all right. So they went home and told everybody everything would be all right, and then the man died. So Mr. Tiwari, who was my great teacher and friend, he went to Maharaji and he started yelling at him. He said, how could you do that? You know, the man, you said he'd be all right and then he dies, and then this is not, you know, this is, you lied, you're a liar. And so Maharaji says, oh, okay. So you're saying that you want me to admit I knew what was going to happen? That was the first thing he said. And even if I did know, if he gives up, he just gives up.
Right.
But that's not the right way to go, he said. One should fight, not against dying or against the disease, but one should fight to be present fully with everything, you know. But if you give up, that's not the right, tremendous courage. Courage, you know, one time I was sitting with Maharaji for hours. He was lying on a bed in this apartment building in Mumbai. And I was sitting on the floor, and he would lie this way, then he would sit up, then he would lie this way, then he would sit up, then he would lie this way, and turn around this way. And I was just doing my Guru Puja, just like, just staring at him, right? So after a few hours, he sits up, and he looks at me, and he goes, courage is a really big thing. And I went, what's going to happen? And the Indian guy who was sitting there said, oh, but Baba, God takes care of his devotees. Courage is a really big thing. And then he lay down and went back to sleep. So, you know,
That's good.
there have been times in my life when all I had was the vague memory of what he said, you know. I couldn't even find courage anywhere, but I had that vague memory was just enough to get me through certain times. Courage is a really big thing.
Virya.
Yeah, virya.
Virya. Maybe we should all visualize Ramdas in the sky with Maharaji behind him, and then all Vishnu and Shiva and Buddha and Hanuman and everybody all sitting around. And another thing, in a way, I would say, Maharaji, I don't know, he chose not to say that to Tiwari ji, but another thing, when he says, all right, sometimes it is all right to die, actually.
Sure.
You know, it's because it's not the end of life.
Yeah.
Actually, it is a releasing into the big form, as your Siddhima told you. It's a releasing into someone who is a little bit able to let go. It's a releasing into a broader interconnection with life than one can have when caught in the meat puppet, identifying oneself only as what is contained within the meat incarnation, the coarse body. And there takes a certain courage. It's another kind of a courage is to let go, because in a way you understand the reason we are trapped in the coarse body is because we feel that we're safe, you know, usually, and we're all right. And we sort of, what's around us we can a little bit control, and we cannot be bumped into it, and we try to avoid it having bump into us. And so we're used to feeling that we can somehow maneuver in this body. And when we completely let go, and we somehow are beyond our own boundary, our habitual boundary, we're sort of right up against all kinds of other things. And we feel frightened at that, you know. So then there's a courage of trust and blessings of the enlightened beings, the gurus, like the guy said to Maharaji. He didn't say no to the guy, he just repeated the thing about courage to you because he didn't want to encourage your dependency on him. But that's another reason that sometimes people say it'll be all right to the family and to the people, because actually people are going to die. In a way, people usually, unless they have a special mission, when they reach a certain age, they are fed up with their meat puppet and they're actually looking to rejuvenate. And that's the cheapest way of rejuvenating.
Yeah, it's cheap.
It's really cheap. It's cheap for you. It's cheap for you, but in case you're lucky enough to be human again, it's not cheap for mom. For the womb that you find, then she's got to pay tuition. Nowadays, it's like $500,000 to get through Harvard. And you get in there rent free at first.
Yeah, first.
You can.
You pay for it later.
What?
You pay for it later.
Yeah, that's right. So I remember when my wife was paralyzed for about 8 months in Mount Sinai Hospital with something called GBS, and I was there in the hospital all the time when I didn't have to work, and someone from the family was always there and this kind of thing, and I got sort of seeing the working of the hospital, and our culture is really messed up by a sort of neurotic and excessive fear of death. And also like avoidance and denial, and it's like never going to happen, and it's here and there, and then we have to hide it the minute it happens, and zip the person up in a body bag, and throw it in the furnace or whatever, and it's like just so neurotically like scared about it, and therefore completely controlled by it. And that isn't really that it's not very healthy actually, and. The Tibetan society and culture and Indian one are much better in the sense that they live in the face of death as a reality around them, and therefore they cherish every minute of life. But on the other hand, they're not that overwhelmingly scared about death. It's only after death that's scary. In other words, if your mind is in a bad condition, if you're filled with seething with greed and jealousy and hatred and malice and resentment and bitterness, and so then it's scary because those emotions, those addictive emotions will push you in places you don't want to be. And so that's why if you live with awareness of death, as Don Juan used to say, Carlos Castaneda's guru, who I really think was some real person, used to say, death as your advisor, then you're much more alive. And it's really cool. It's like you're not supposed to say, like about somebody, that everyone's going to die. But we're all going to die. Every single one of us. And the thing is how to navigate it. How do you navigate going to sleep, You don't want to go to sleep after watching a horror movie. And you'll have a nightmare. So you don't want to die in a state of horror and freak out. So Ram Dass I think he's, somehow he's showing us all the stages and the whole thing. It's amazing. It's amazing. He's hanging out for the retreat in May, I think. He went to the hospital, he wants to hang out. So. And he wants to hear you chant some more.
Oh, I hope so.
Huh?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, you hope so, I do too. But I'm not sure. I had a weird feeling earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh no, I'm not psychic. I don't know anything. That's so ridiculous. Why
You do that to yourself too?
What?
You do that to yourself too?
Of course. Naturally. No, I always want to reassure everybody. When I teach about bliss and things, I want people get really nervous. And I want everyone to know I'm just as miserable or more miserable than other people.
Yeah. That's the Bodhisattva vow.
Well, no, it's Calvin and the Protestant ethic.
It's the Jewish Bodhisattva vow. I'm more miserable than any other Bodhisattva.
Yeah, there are Bodhisattvas like that.
Sure.
But they do that blissfully.
Yes.
They do.
Yeah, sure.
The Bodhisattva always creepy. Did you ever hear about him?
Always creepy?
Yeah, ever creepy.
Creepy.
Creepy, yeah.
Really? Oh.
Ever creepy, but no, literally creepy. I don't mean creepy as a simile, but literally creepy. Why? He was someone, when he would meet any other person, anywhere, at any time, in the bazaar or whatever, he would bow to them. Because he would say, hey, and then sometimes they were like treating him for an orange that they were selling him or something, or they were like in a bad mood, and they would be annoyed. Why are you bowing to me? He would say, because you're going to be Buddha. He would say, and he would bow, and then they would be angry. And they would hit him with sticks and throw, and then he would creep away from them as they were belaboring him, but he would be continuing to bow. So then they called him always creeping, because he would creep away while bowing to that person. He's a famous, in the Lotus Sutra, he's a famous Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva always creeping. I like him a lot. He couldn't help himself, because when he saw anybody, he would see their Buddha nature, and he would rejoice because they're all going to be Buddhas. They were far from Buddhas many times, and then they would be annoyed because it made them feel very un-Buddhish, and then they would annoy them. You'd think it's surprising because, if people go around, especially some wannabe gurus, they go around and they welcome worship. They always want to be worshipped.
They love those creepy.
You know what I mean? They want you to drive their limousine for them, and so but actually people don't like it if you really celebrate that they're all going to be Buddha. Oh, you're going to be Buddha. No, I don't want. I want to cheat here in my soul in the bazaar. I want to cheat people.
Let's sing a Hanuman Chalisa for.
Oh, good. You're
Ram
going to do Hamza? Let's please do that, please. It's so jazzy, Hanuman Chalisa. I was looking at the other day.
I could sing it.
Mana Mana Rupi. It's like, what was this? Like Mana Mana Rupi. It's very jazzy, but you guys like to be very, I know, classical.
I could sing a morning.
Bindu
mournful, sad.
It's like that.
You want me
I
to
love
sing a
it.
sad
But where's
book
the
or
text?
something?
I don't.
Oh, the text. Yeah, right.
You don't have a
We
copy
don't have a text.
on your phone.
Here's one here.
Would you lend it to me? I'm ignorant. Oh, I love that. See, Jnana Guna Sagara. See, that's very jazzy.
Yeah.
Jaya Hanumana, Jnana Guna Sagara. I like it. Buddhists think of Hanuman as an emanation of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of universal compassion, and they certainly don't mind if people think that Avalokiteshvara is an emanation of Hanuman. Either way works in India.
Oh.
Really?
Okay, so let's sing. We'll sing what I call Bernie's Chalisa.
What? You're doing a different version?
No, it's the same words, different melody.
Okay.
Okay, not so jazzy. Starts with this little English shloka. Calling out to hungry hearts everywhere through endless time. You who wander, you who thirst, I offer you this Bodhi mind. Calling out to hungry spirits everywhere through endless time. Calling out to hungry hearts, all the lost and the left behind. Gather round and share this meal, your joy and your sorrow, I make it mine. Shri Guru Charana Saroj Raja Jamana Mukuru Sudhari Arana Raghubara Bimala Jasu Jodak Palachari Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiram Pavan Kumar Siyaram Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesa Bikarasi Avara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Jaya Hanuman सीता मन बसे सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सिया दिखाओ विकट रूप धरि लंक जराओ भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरताय संभवाय सहस बदन तुमरो जस गान रस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगाओ सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीस नारद शारद सहित ईश यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहांते कभी कोविद कह सके कहांते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवा कीन्हा राम मिलाय राज्य पद दीन तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण मान लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जान युग सहस्र जो जन परवान वीर्यो थाई मधुर पल जान प्रभु मुद्रिका मिले मुख माही जल दिलांगी गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे ते राम दुआरे तुम रखवार होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैजार सब सुख लाहे तुम्हारी शरण तुम्हारा चक काहू को धर आपन तेज समारो आप तीनों लोक हांकते कांपे भूत पिशाचन कत नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनाए नासे रोग हरे सब पीर जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीर संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा इनके काज सकल तुम साज और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोवे अमित जीवन पल पावे चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियार साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नो निधि के दाता असवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास सदा रहो रघुपति के दास तुम्हारे भजन राम को पाए जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसराए अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हर भक्त कहाय और देवता चित्त न धरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमेरे हनुमत बलबीर जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाय जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई छूत ही बंदी महासुख होय होया फर हनुमान चालीसा होया सिद्धि साखी गौरीस तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा कीजे नाथ हृदय मंदिर पवन तनय संकट हरण मंगल मूर्ति रूप सिया राम राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसो सुरभूप श्यावर रामचंद्र पद जय Sharanam Mangalamurti Marutanandan Sakala Amangala Mulanikandan Mangalamurti Marutanandan Sakala Mangala Mulanikandan Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Sita Ram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai 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 There's a line in here that says,
What?
there's a line in here that says, Antakala Raghubara Pura Jayan, Jahan Janma Hari Bhakta Kahai. So Antakala, when you die,
Yes.
you go to Ram's abode,
Oh,
where,
good.
where you take birth as a devotee of Ram.
Oh, good.
So I always thought this is like a little bit like Shambhala,
Yeah, sure.
you know. And so I said, Arjun once said to Siddhima, Ma, so it says that when we die, we go to Ram's abode. And she said, well, not exactly.
Really?
Not exactly, yeah.
Why? Why did he say that?
Well, I don't think it means when you die from this particular body. When the ego dies, probably.
I see.
You go to Ram's abode. You take birth there in a different type of body.
So that's how you're guaranteeing yourself not to go there?
No, I wasn't
So
getting
you can
myself.
stay in Brooklyn. No, come on.
I want to stay in Rockland County with the
Rockland
measles.
County. I'm just kidding. No way. Ram is compassionate.
Yes.
Ram is happy.
Yeah.
You know, like Amitabha, you know, someone's not ready, their ego didn't die, so he still, if they just remember his name, he made a vow. He didn't want to be Buddha, didn't want to have a Buddha land, like place, unless if they think of his name without sort of contempt, just think of it,
Yeah.
he would bring them. And if they were not ready, they were in the lotus, but the lotus would be closed for a while.
Acha.
And then after a while, it'd open when the ego gets something. So no, they bring him in right away. They reel him in. There's a paintings in Korea and China and so forth of this kind of, like, I will look at this one like that, standing at the right, and one called Mahastama Prapta, a great, powerful one. Two of them on two sides of him, and one of them has a lotus, and it looks like Yogi Berra with a catcher's mitt. And you see these little souls coming along on rainbow things, and they're like bagging it, on the lotus. So, you know, don't. This is not exactly. He just said it to that guy because he was wanting him to do a little more work. These guys are always specific. These great teachers.
Oh, that's true.
They tell different things to people who need different things.
Okay. Well, I figured.
And you like to interpret things in such a way as to put minimal challenge on yourself.
Minimal challenge? Is that how you say it?
You do. That's
Meaning
your
what?
favorite
Meaning
thing.
what? Meaning what?
Yeah, well, the other day we did clap, 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 go away negative spirits, and you said, I'm still here. You did. You like to do that.
I see.
That's your bodhisattva vow.
That's my vow, yeah. I'm doing it for you.
No, bodhisattvas do it also for themselves.
Bodhisattvas doing it for themselves.
But let's give Ram a little more. Ram is the Buddha. He's
Sure,
Buddha.
Ram is Buddha,
Krishna is
absolutely.
Buddha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So they're not going to stinge on people just because they're egotistical. Everybody is egotistical.
Right.
And actually, to be a bodhisattva, you have to be egotistical. I'm going to save everybody. That's egotistical. But that's good egotistical. There's good egotistical and bad egotistical. I'm going to kill everybody. That's bad. I'm going to take away their health care. That's bad. That's a bad ego. A good ego is, I'm going to give them all health care. I'm going to have them cancel all their student loans. That's a good ego. That's the bodhisattva ego. No more student loans. They gave all the bankers, they talk about moral hazard, they gave all the bankers huge money. They gave our great-grandchildren's like daily cup of coffee to the bankers. But the students, if you took away their loans, that would be moral hazard. Oh, they'd be spoiled for life. Oh, they wouldn't work in my slave shop or something. That's a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
And I don't mean Buddhist studies.
Oh, you don't. I see.
So Ram, and what is the name of Ram's world? Does it have a name?
Well,
Krishna is
Vaikuntha.
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 That's Krishna, right?
No, it's Vishnu.
Vishnu
world.
in general. Vaikuntha.
Vishnu world, like Disney
And
world.
what is that? Vaikuntha, what does that mean?
I mean, it's the Vaikuntha, I don't know. It has to do with Vishnu, Vishnu's abode.
Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha. Kunta.
I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha, Vaikuntha.
That's really good. I must say, gives me a feminine connotation.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. After all, they rule the world. Actually, Mataji asked me to say something today, in between singing for Ramdas, asked me to say something about Dakini Jala Samvarta, or Samvara, Dakini Jala Samvaram. Om Sri Vada He Ruru Kan Hum Pe Dakini Jala Samvaram Swaha.
Right.
That's a really nice one. But anyway, she asked me to say something about that. And does everyone here, did you learn or do you know about the civilization of the goddess? How many of you ever heard of Maria Jimbutas? How many people here? Not one hand?
You see, not one. You see who you're talking
Oh
to?
my
I tried to tell you.
Maria Jimbutas was a Lithuanian archaeologist who was the toast of Europe in her early work by studying what are called the Kurgan people, who were a bunch of, Hell's Angels, motorcycle riding, chariot riding, macho dickwits, who came in off the steppe into Europe and beat everybody up, and we've been at it for about 10,000 years with them. And actually, she didn't know that, or she wouldn't study that, but they simultaneously went into India, and they went into China, and they went into Persia, and everywhere. And they drove, actually, the Jews who were running away from leaving India, and they drove them into Egypt, actually, at some point during that first millennium. A long time. Anyway, she was made the toast of Europe, and then she was therefore put in charge, and she was given a big job, archaeology job in Paris, Musée, and so and so and so and so. And she was monitoring all the digs in the Danube, which were the most important digs in Europe, actually, in the Danube area. Because Danube was the breadbasket of Europe. It's the biggest alluvium. And before they had fertilizer and whatever, then they needed an alluvium, a mud floodplain, to grow a surplus of food. So she dug deeper. And when she dug deeper, she found 90,000 years of matriarchal civilization there, with very little violence, evidence of violence, very few smashed skulls, bodies all ripped up with weapons lying beside them. Like as they dig down, the archaeologists, the way they do with toothbrushes, they go around scratching with toothbrushes, they find out. And the cities were not fortified and so forth. And she wrote books called Civilization of the Goddess. Well, you can imagine the boys in the archaeology club in Europe got really pissed off. And she harassed her badly, and she ended up at UCLA in California. She escaped to the Dakini Pure Land of California. And she was reigned there for many years. And then a woman named Rihanna Eisler, E-I-S-L-E-R, wrote a book called The Chalice and the Blade about 20 years ago, which popularized her idea that Eurasia, at least, was ruled by women for 90,000 peaceful years. And when the guys got in, it was the mess we know today. And actually, there's a theory that the Harappan people, before the Vedic people came from Central Asia, who were the Kurgan, like the Kurgan people, with their Indra, thunderbolts and things, that there were mother goddesses in Harappan civilization. And in India, basic, environment of India is the goddess environment. And then the Chinese have a thing about the Shang dynasty or Yin dynasty, that they had one, which the chauvinist Chinese used to think was a myth, but actually in the last 20 years or so they've found the evidence of that. So this is really interesting to us. Why, of course, mystery is why did that fall apart? Was it just the bad guys coming in with their chariots or what? And what is their positive? What is Rama and everyone getting positive and Buddha out of this male thing that we're still suffering under today? Although we look like we're coming into an epicycle, because Hillary was elected. We're not all that stupid. It was stolen. It was 100% stolen by KGB and by their puppets and other morons, and also morons and Nazis and all kind of weirdos who have a bad sex life and therefore hate everybody. And they hate everybody. No, seriously. So we have to remember that the whole country is not that stupid, and she was elected, definitely. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, 87,000 votes more for the moron is ridiculous. There's a bunch of people milking cows up there. They don't want somebody taking away their health care. They don't give it that. That their votes were not counted, the better people. They had horrible Republican governors and secretaries of state who cheat. So, like in North Carolina, they're being caught a little bit, but there's everywhere that they control the voting. As Stalin famously said, more important than who votes is who counts the votes. Anyway, this is the thing. And then in the Buddhist, in the Indian, Bhakti world, Tantric world, out from underneath the still vestigial male chauvinism that existed in the monastic Buddhism and even some aspects of the Mahayana Buddhism and regular Vedic, Brahminical Hinduism, out from underneath that bubbles up from India this wonderful devotional, loving thing, that eradicates temporarily for holidays the caste. And Buddhism was eradicating the caste, was a major factor of eradicating the caste hysteria that you have in India, and bringing women, giving them freedom in becoming female mendicants, nuns, getting out of the patriarchal household system. And so this was happening in India, and it really comes out in the concept of Dakini, Yogini, and Kali, and Durga, and all the legends in Hinduism where the gods are freaking out and they can't control Shumba and Nishumba, the nasty guys, and then they have to go to Durga, and then she just totally wastes them all, takes care of it. And so there is this wonderful thing where they had Indira Gandhi there, for some time, and India, that is the essence of India, really. It's the recovery of that, because you can't charge around and conquer people when you're happy and when you have 2,500 varieties of mangoes and you have really good spices and you have good doctors who have good herbal medicines. Before they went and conquered India, the Portuguese in Europe, and killed a lot of people in Goa and so forth. In Europe, they had in the drugstore, they had 5 herbs, some echinacea and a few things, and they had really crappy cooking, and they were drinking beer all the time because the food was sucked, so they had to get drunk to be able to eat. And the minute they went in and started wasting people in India and they started getting these herbs, suddenly the pharmacies had all kinds of, nutmegs, all these kind of things. That was the whole reason they had to go conquer there. But the Indians had been living with these good spices and wonderful things for centuries already. And the mother was really, I think by the time, but what happens in a society when love becomes the norm, and when peacefulness and when there's negotiation and about conflicts and discussion, and the mother of the house comes and takes over, and the father and sons and the brothers stop beating each other up and so forth, then there's peace in a society. And around 1000 of the Common Era, when India was like that, and people don't have any idea what India was like at that time. It's when the Tantras, both for Hinduism and Buddhism, were very widespread. They weren't anything negative. People always abuse everything, someone does, but they basically were wonderful, and all this kind of chanting and ragas and beautiful poetry. I have no idea. The Shakespeare of India was in the 6th century and so on. And he was a gift of Kalidasa. He was an ignorant guy who a beautiful princess was tricked into marrying because he was like a cowherd or something, and he was utterly ignorant. And some Brahmin who was annoyed, who was good in Sanskrit, and the princess was very good Sanskritist. She was a brilliant woman. And he tricked her into marrying this guy pretending he was a great Sanskritist. Turned out to be this ignorant cowherd, Kalidasa. And then when she realized he'd been fooled and had married this, she kicked him out of the house, and he was of course in love with her. So he was really freaked out. So he went to a wayside Kali shrine, and he said, "Oh, Kaliji, Mataji, please teach me Sanskrit. My wife won't talk to me." And he was like, "I'm going to drown myself in the stream here if you don't teach me Sanskrit." And Kali Ma, like that, and he became the greatest Sanskrit poet in history. According to Goethe, he was the greatest poet ever that lived, ever. And he wrote the love story of Shiva and Uma, the Kumara Sambhava. Wonderful, wonderful guy. So anyway, so that was, India was like, but what happens, that's what I was saying, what happens when it becomes more open, that when the women do that and make more peace, is the military fiber of a country lessens. And they become vulnerable to neighbors who are more chauvinist and more violent because they're more miserable. And then the Iranians, the Tajiks, all these people newly unified by Islam, they weren't really doing the beautiful, peaceful part of Islam. They were using it just to tribally unify themselves. And they came in and they wasted that culture in India. And the women were put back down again, And it was like that. So anyway, you asked me to say something about it, so this is the thing. One of the tantric vows is very hard to keep. Never think that any woman is not enlightened. It's a root, it's a sin in Tantra, breaking of the tantric vow. In case we ever think, some old crone, if you never think any woman is not enlightened. And that's a kind of male yoga in that thing, And all of the Siddha, Mahasiddhas had women teachers and things, And then we were talking earlier, the Krishna and Radha. There's this beautiful poem, some of you may know, Jayadeva. Do you know Jayadeva's poem called the Gita Govinda? Did a lot of you know that?
No.
Barbara Miller did, I think, a beautiful translation of it. My late colleague at Columbia, Barbara Miller, who actually brought me there. She's a wonderful person. And she did a wonderful translation of it. The Love Song of the Dark Lord is a paperback. Anyway, there you see, Radha becomes more powerful than Krishna, and Krishna is begging her to take him back because he was naughty and wayward with all the gopis. And she's like, doesn't know if she wants to bother with him again, type of thing. Sort of, Of course, she's in love with him, adores him. But finally, he asks, please put your beautiful lotus toes on my forehead and forgive me, he said. That's somewhere at the end and in front of us. It's really beautiful. It's really nice. So anyway, that's what you asked me. Mataji asked me that, I think, to mention that to you, that you all be interested in that. And we do have, and then Tibetans have these songs, the Spring Queen song and other things, but I don't think I will do that. But
No.
That's a little too sexy, maybe,
Yeah, we couldn't handle it.
The expression sahaja, some of you may have heard that expression. There is a cult in Bengal today called the Sahajiyas. And Barbara told me actually that the first sort of, village level, like not the high caste, but chanting, singing, like folk singing sort of people like the Bob Dylans of India, the 500 to 1000 CE, around that time, were all Mahasiddhas. And there are these amazing poems by Saraha and Nagarjuna and Kanhapa and Kantapa, these guys, these songs they sing that are really, really, Saraha about. And then they have a special term is sahaja. And they have, the four anandas. When you, in your chakras, if you become such a yogi, you have the brain chakra, some split that in two. You have crown chakra and then a pituitary level or third eye, forehead level, brain chakra, throat chakra, heart chakra, navel chakra, genital chakra, secret chakra they call it. And then that can be divided in several, the Muladhara, and etc. And when you become a great yogi and you open up the knots in your nervous system and you move the blisses into your body, you bring down, usually most of the yogas, you bring down from the brain to the throat, throat to the heart, heart to the navel, navel to the secret chakra. And then each one of those has an ananda. And you have ananda and great, ananda meaning bliss or joy. You have joy, great joy. Then you have ecstatic joy. And then finally you have sahaja ananda. That's the highest one. And then, but it's not only in the secret place. Then it goes back up the same way and you have sahaja ananda in the brain. And then also there's the highest of all levels is where you have the four joys going into four different layers in the heart chakra, when you've really opened your heart chakra. And you have that bliss in your heart chakra. And then sahaja, everyone translates, because it literally means saha means together, and ja means born. So sahaja, they say innate. And everybody goes, oh, innate, oh, that must be really great. It's not innate, it's orgasmic. Okay? And the saha means together, and what's together? The male and female. And sahaja, that's sahaja. And it's a beautiful thing. But it doesn't mean like, playboy sex orgies or playgirl sex orgies. It doesn't mean that. Because this is internal. And yet the partners are important. And they're both resonating with each other's chakras like this. And you know who got that right in the West? It was Wilhelm Reich. Because Wilhelm Reich's famous book, Function of the Orgasm, I bet you all forgot about Wilhelm Reich. How many people know about Wilhelm Reich? Oh, a few more people. Oh, good. Nobody heard of Maria Jimbuta. And then, a young class, I'm just retiring from academia, I ask, who's Buckminster Fuller? They go, duh. Ivan Illich, duh. Wilhelm Reich, duh. All those great people of 60s, 70s, they're lost to the new culture, the Reaganite youth, And, but anyway, he got it right because, why? Because the orgasmic energy is a deep blue color energy, color of Krishna. Deep dark blue, almost blue-black. Okay? And it's not from what Reich would call armored sexuality. which is just restricted to the secret level, you know. And there's nothing tantric about it, you know, but it can be, because many people have had things in previous lives. Many human beings are all incredible, fantastic organisms to feel sensitivity and feel joy, and it's amazing. So you can't say, even just because they didn't learn this or that about some chakra, that they can't have some overall sensations. But Reich's thing was where the dyad stays together, like tantric thing, and this isn't the sort of puffing and get it over with and have a cigarette routine. It isn't that. It is they flow together. And if they stay peacefully flowing together in Reich's idea, and they have been working with the psyche and removed the muscular armoring, neuromuscular psychic armoring where they all uptight and they can't feel inner streamings, then each one, they're totally taken over by streamings peacefully together, and they're both enfolded in a blue wave of light, that famous orgone energy of his. And that's like Tantra thing. That's really what it's about. Because each one is partnering with the other to open up inner chakras, inner sensitivities. Ultimately, I mean, that's a very advanced stage, of course. That's a very advanced and high stage. And then in that stage, in that high stage, of course, the male is the one who has to learn, and the female is the one who knows better. And the male has to realize that. And I was saying to Krishna Das, in the Kala Chakra Tantra, there's these wonderful verses about it. And there's this long thing at the end where it says, you fell into a pit and you're stuck in tar at the bottom of it, and it looks like you're doomed, or quicksand or anything. And then you just, if you think of the feet of the yoginis, you'll be fine. You're attacked by bandits and they're about to like dismember you and steal everything, take the gold out of your teeth. And if you think of the feet of the yoginis, they'll all go away. You're attacked by pirates on the high seas. You know, one disaster after another, like about 20 verses. And mainly you have to keep the feet of the yogini in your mind. You know. So no wonder he built a Durga. I'm sure he wanted to build a Kali one too, but he had his reason. He didn't want to have blood-spattered temple. You know. So Durga is just like that. So anyway, Mataji thought you'd all like to hear about that. Maybe the guys, I don't know. In regard to Buddhism, actually, I often say that, and I get pleasure out of it, actually. Not that I'm still chauvinist myself, of course. In 51 years, my wife has not accepted me as her disciple. I'm still what they call a postulant. You know, I'm hoping to be accepted sometime. So I've shown improvement, and I'm nearer the door of the Zendo, you know, but I haven't been accepted. So I'm not pretending anything, but I'm saying that you know, people had a false idea of enlightenment, that it's some sort of light bulb goes off in your head, you know, and then you're supposed to go around shining, and then people will worship you and buy you a Rolls Royce or some bullshit. And that's false, and therefore they think. There's even, you'll find in the literature, both Hinduism and Buddhism, well, you have to be a male to really get enlightened, you know. And you'll find that even in Buddhism. And you know, Tara, for example, was told by some Buddha after becoming 90,000 satoris, or 90 million satoris in different lives, she said, oh, great, this one guy said to her, oh, great, you're now really enlightened, so you can be reborn as a male and be a Buddha. And she said, that's so boring. There are all these boring male Buddhas. I'm going to be a female Buddha. Forget about it. And she is, you know. And that's a great story to have. And but anyway, because of that wrong idea, that it's just some sort of idea in your mind, some sort of light bulb, then they think the male is more advanced. But actually, enlightenment means realizing relativity, that everything is totally connected. And love and compassion is the outgrowth of the wisdom of freedom, of emptiness. The wisdom of emptiness is just a doorway of living love, living compassion. What did your guru say to everybody? Love everybody, but that...
Love everybody, yeah.
Yeah, he said that, but he said love everybody. It's all one, that's right. But it's not a sloppy one. It's all one, and everybody's there interconnected in a weave in all of it. And so gentleness and sensitivity in the weave is the watchword of enlightenment. And therefore, the female embodiment is actually superior in terms of the multi-life evolutionary path to enlightenment. because the female is more naturally aware of interconnectedness. Not that they can't behave in another way, but they are. And the male is like, what, me connected? Oh yeah, there's one way I like to connect. For a couple of minutes. But connected like some renter in my belly for 10 months, 9 months without paying rent? What? I'm not that connected. And it's just very difficult for us. You have to be, see, you are sympathetic, luckily. You are. So I just thought you'd find that encouraging. And everything I have to say in the next year and a half, of course, is so you all vote. Nothing to do with the Dharma. No, the women have to vote. And they don't. You know that one of the single most laggard voters is single mothers, and they don't have time, they don't vote. They have to vote. They wheel that baby down there, put it in a back sack, in a rucksack, whatever, and vote. That's the thing. I never, Chris Rock, I heard him go off one time at a dinner, a bunch of CEOs and a bunch of women CEOs, and there were a few men, but a lot of women CEOs at one particular dinner. Chris Rock is there. They were complaining about Trump, and he says, well, you white ladies, a lot of you voted for him. What are you complaining about? You get out and vote. My sisters, we didn't vote for that. Well, they know what kind of person you are. We never voted, and we all voted. You all didn't vote. I don't want to hear more complaint from you all. I just saw Black Panther in Wakanda, and I don't want to hear about him. He's a great guy, actually. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know it's silly. But I am silly. That's the way it is. Okay?
Yep, okay.
So, do people want to meditate? Why don't we meditate? Seriously, we have to meditate. Think about the great women you've known in your life. Your mom, grandmas, the great women you've known in your life. And, remember we did an earlier event, we did a meditation of what's called the refuge tree, or the refuge vision, where you imagine, go into meditative mode, don't look at me, just yourselves, close your eyes. You're in the most beautiful place in the universe, and the sky above you, everybody is there. But particularly this time, think of all the female goddesses, female Buddhas. Radha, Krishna's hanging. He's there bringing a cup of tea. Yes, Radhaji, here you go. Here's mango lassi. And Rama's there, Sita, and they're right there. And all in your own life, women that you know, great, great, great women. And your historical ones, you could have Joan of Arc, Florence Nightingale, whoever it is, the great, great women, and a huge, shining Obi-Wan Kenobi light host, of angelic hosts, and also Dakinis, which means kind of angel, sky-goer, literally, that means, Kandro, Tibetan, and they are just smiling at you and all of us here because we're meditating. And their smiles, from their smiles, their beautiful lips and their shining eyes just send rainbow light rays out, and their sparkling teeth sending toward us this light, and we fill up with the light, and we feel embraced and cocooned by that light, by all of them, and filled up with positive energy. And then the energy reflects, and we always, when we meditate, we think of all beings around us, our loved ones, our enemies, even the bad guys, they're there, or petroleum industry, and then the neutral ones that we don't know, they're all there, and then the same light reflects to them, and then maybe in the middle of that, so we're in this field, and then they send back encouragement to us because they see us shining and feeling relaxed and peaceful and brilliant with this light. And then we send our gratitude to all these great female Buddhas, female Devis, you know, even the fierce ones. They're fierce, but they're cute. They were still beautiful, fierce as they may be. And they just marvelous, you know. And you just sit in this sort of figure 8 of energy flow, and you're there. And then let's meditate that in the midst of that, and like not in like a hospital bed with tubes and things, and forget about all of that. Just see like a glowing light body, subtle body, the pranamaya kosha, you know, of Ramdas, of Baba Ramdas. And we see him in there in the great goddess island of Maui. And, you know, and all of these, as the lights flow to us from all these goddesses, they create a kind of cradle, lotus cradle of bliss around dear, dear Baba Ramdas, who is being there now. And we're being here now with him, all of us. And when it flows past him, of course, we still feel the light. We still share the light with all the beings. And it comes their gratitude and their encouragement and egging us on comes back to us. And we send our light of gratitude back to all the deities, especially goddesses. And there, he's in bliss. And he's a focus for us of the presence of that subtle level, soul bliss. He loves that. He was so happy to discover that Buddhists allow you to have a soul. He'd been badgered by different Buddhists saying, no, Ramdas, you can't have a soul, there's no soul. That's nonsense. Of course there's a soul, it just always changes. All Buddha meant by selflessness is that it's always changing. Everything is always flowing. It's not a stuck, fixed thing. That's all I meant. And he loves that, and there he is. And so that's how he can tolerate this terrible pain. But he keeps that because he's reaching toward us. A meat body, the only purpose of it from an enlightened being is to reach out to other beings who feel less enlightened and therefore struggling with the universe and with their place in it and the meaning of it and blah, 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 all of that. And feeling anxious and worried and frightened. And so he's showing the fact of staying loving and staying worshipful of his guru and respecting the light of love that came to him from Babaji, from Maharaji. And he's showing that by associating with the broken bones and the broken nerves and the broken tissues and the whole thing, which otherwise it's really more cool to leave behind and get a new batch. But he's doing it. And there he is enshrined. But he could leave at any time and it would be fine. Because he has a light body. He's like Obi-Wan, you know. He's a Jedi. And he's there. And we just imagine that. And we sort of make a special radiance toward him of our own resonance with the love. If we learned anything from him, if we were inspired by him in any way, if he amused us in some way, if he liked us to lighten up in some way, or even if he made us think we were lighter by how he behaved, whatever it was, he's just a brother. He's a sister, he's a mother. He was female in many lives, actually, himself. And will be again if he wants to. And he's just going through this all, at this stage, I think, really for others. Because there's no point for himself hanging in such a mechanism, somewhat ruptured mechanism. So let's visualize that. And, think of Ram wanting to, like, sending out his deep blue light rays, or Krishna, his deep blue light rays, and tractor beaming him into Vaikuntha, and him being delighted there to meet a lot of his old friends. And Maharaji is there, and the Obi-Wan type body around him and near him. And just let's pray and reflect this. Visualize it. And actually it is what is really happening. The great thing about this kind of visualization, we can, if you're a self-perfectionist, which a lot of us are, we feel frustrated when we can't hold a vision like that in our mind for very long. But the point is you sort of just glance at it, just like you glance at the roof or the ceiling of this room or the walls, and then you forget about it. But you sort of know it's there. So you just feel it's happening there. And you're participating, and your goodwill, and your love, and your admiration, and your respect, and your friendliness, and your cheerfulness, actually, is very important when someone is suffering, to be truly sympathetic, but not get all mopey and freaked out more than they are. That's the last thing they want. They want someone cheerful, kind of, but in a very sympathetic way. And so be cheerful and joyous. My wife tells me a story of when she was in India, in Rishikesh area, not with me, unfortunately, before we met. And she and her friend met a bunch of sadhus, and one of their company had died, and they had a kind of makeshift stretcher, and they were happily running up and down on the shore of the Ganga, and they were going to dump the body in the Ganga, and they were all cheery and happy, and they were madly happy, and the body was flopping around on the makeshift stretcher, type of thing. And they, oh, he doesn't mind. They were like, oh, careful, careful. Oh no, it's gone now. It's just the body. He's so happy we're putting it in the Ganges. And she and her friend were really flipped out by this sort of cavalier way and cheerful, joyful way of seeing death as just a transition from a small encasement into a bigger thing, to come back to another encasement, maybe better one, not the end of everything like the materialist stupidly things. It's impossible for anything ever to be nothing. No one ever becomes nothing. So we're cheerful. Okay, Ramdas, hang in there. It's what you don't have to do it for me. You don't have to do it for us. We will send you off with love if you feel really sick of it, and finally. But if you stay, we're deeply appreciative. We will see you. We will see you. We'll be happy to see you. And if you go, we'll see you too, in your bigger form. We'll meet you in dreams. We'll meet you when we die. Or we might have a vision of you and Maharaji anytime. So we love you. We really do. And we realize that you did always love us. And it's so kind of you. And if we get a stroke or something, if we can think of that as Guru's blessing, we will somewhere close, tiny bit of your level. And then you can have a sense of this sort of field that you visualized, and then you sort of get into like knowing it's there, even if you lose the visualization. Just like you know when you're in a room, sort of what the surfaces in the room are. And you can either leave it there in the hands of the goddesses, because that's where it is, or you can dissolve the whole field and bring it into your heart. And then give that energy and that blessed feeling from your heart to all beings and to their hearts. And that way close the meditation. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Ha la la, la la ho. Aiya, arali ho. Deshin shakwa tamze dang, pavu dane ne doma, kandro dane kandroma, kula dane sawanda. Deva chila jebe heruka, deva ramya malanyan. Choka chindu longja bayini, lenje deva shu so ala la 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 ho aiya arali ho dime kandro donem ji deve se la legonze. What do you say, KDG? Don't be glum. Knees are terrible.
Okay, so
Thank you. Really, I have to thank you, KDG. You know, I missed Maharaji in this life, but I meet him in you always. And then every time you tell, can you tell one more, before you sing, can you tell one more story of Maharaji? Something funny that he did. Something funny that he did. Something that, you know, the last one you told me about, the second time he took acid. Or, but you told that here. Did you tell them all?
Did I
Did
tell
you?
them? Here, yeah, I told it here.
Yeah, or something like that. Anything, doesn't matter. Something.
I tell you about the time I drove him in the car? I did too.
Yeah, you drove him?
Did I tell you that? I don't know.
Can you tell
So
us that?
he had named me driver.
He made you drive?
Yeah, he took Ramdas's keys away to the Volkswagen bus.
Really? He had a Volkswagen?
Yeah, he took the keys away and he gave them to me. He said, "You'll drive." So I used to drive the bus around, and Ramdas had to take the public transport. But all the other Westerners would pile onto the Volkswagen bus, like 20 of us hanging off of it and on the roof and out. This crazy. So he took the keys away from Ramdas, gave them to me, and I had the keys with me. And I had a secret desire that someday I wanted to drive Maharaji in the car.
Okay.
Right. But I never mentioned it. I never said anything about it to anybody. But I always had the keys with me.
I see.
So like a year later now, it's a year later, we were in the mountains, then we were in Vrindavan, then now we're in Allahabad at Dada's house. And I'm sitting there with Maharaji. And
In Allahabad?
Yeah, in Allahabad.
Downtown?
Not
In
downtown.
traffic?
No.
Oh.
No, wait. No,
Oh, okay,
this
okay,
is,
sorry.
we're at somebody's house, a
Oh,
devotee's
okay.
house. So, so I'm sitting there, like I always sit there with a few people around, a few Westerners, and Maharaji looks at me and he goes, "You got the keys?" And I went, "Yeah." "Jello, let's go." And he gets up and he starts walking towards the van, the bus. So Dada's walking with him. I'm walking behind them. And they get into the driver's seat. Dada opens the door, and you know, Maharaji is very short, and the Volkswagen bus seat is up high.
Yes.
So he had to throw himself up in the bus, and he bashed his head on
no.
the door. I mean, whack!
Oh,
And I almost pissed in my pants. You know, I'm saying, "Dada," I said, "Dada, did you see that?" And Dada looks at me and says, "He did it on purpose. Now just drive."
really?
Yeah, that's a real devotee. For a real devotee, everything the Guru does is absolutely on purpose.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
on purpose. So, okay. I got in the driver's seat. I started the car and I driving. The minute we pulled out of the driveway, Maharaji goes, watch out, this car, watch out, go slow, you're going too fast, watch out, be careful, watch out, watch out, okay,
Really?
watch out. We drove all the way down to the Sangam, you know, to where the people take the bath in Kumbh
okay.
Mela. The whole way down, he's going, watch out, oh my God, watch out, be careful, watch out, go slow, too fast, watch out, like this. And I'm going, So we get there, I turn the car off, we sit for a minute, and then all of a sudden, go back. So I was, and the whole way back, the same thing. Watch out, be careful, watch out. Totally. So the next day he sent us away. Ramdas had promised Swami Muktananda that he would do a pilgrimage with him in South India.
I know, I met him in Pune,
Yeah, so we tried to get out of it, but Maharaji said, you said you would go, you have to go. So me, Ramdas, Rameshwar Das, and Dwarkanath, and was it 4? And Jagannath maybe. We get into the bus and we head south. So we're driving out of Allahabad, and I'm driving, and there's a long turn, right? A long, big, long turn. And I'm going too fast. And I know it. I realize too late. I'm going too fast. And on this side is a reservoir.
Oh.
And the road, you know, there's nothing. It's just, and the bus is
Drifting.
It's drifting off.
Oh.
And just as we're coming into this turn, drifting off, and there's nothing I can do. And all of a sudden, a big wind came, whoosh, and the bus went whoosh, back on the road. That's why Maharaji banged his head on the car. That's why he banged his head.
That's great. Oh, that's great.
So yeah, it was like, I mean, really, if it moved 20 feet over like that, just whoosh.
Really?
Yeah, really.
The Guru is with you.
Okay.
KD, trust the force. But don't drive too fast. He doesn't want to be bothered. I love Nina. She told one time somebody was like, they were driving around with some Kalachakra or some Dalai Lama's event, you know, and they were like, okay, Kalachakra, Guruji, I need a parking place. Find me a parking place. I'm always lucky. I get parking places. And he was going, Guru's going to get him a parking place. So Nina said, you want your Guru to be a parking attendant?
All right.
Thank you.
So this first 2 verses are bowing to the goddess, asking her to be pleased with us. You're the mother of the universe. Please bless us, be pleased with us. Devi Prapanarti Hare Prasida Prasida Mata Jagato Kalasya Prasida Vishweshwari Pahi Vishwam Tvamishwari Devi Chara Charasya Vidyaha Samastasto Devi Bhedha Striya Samasta Sakala Jagatsu Tvaya Kaya Puritam Ambeata Kate Studistavya Para Parokti Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Datri Swaha Swadha Namostute Jayatvam Devi Chamunde Jaya Bhutarti Harini Jaya Sarvagate Devi Kalaratri Namostute Madhukaitaba Vidravi Vidatri Varade Mamaha Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Jehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Yashodehi Dvishoje Mahishasura Niranashi Bhaktanam Sukade Namaha Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Shumbasna Shumba Niranashi Bhaktanam Sukade Namaha Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Natebhya Sarvada Bhaktya Chandike Duritapahe Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Te Sobhagyam Arogyam Dehi Me Paramam Sukham Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Dehi Devi Kalyana Dehi Paramam Shriya Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Devi Prachanda Doradanda Daitya Darpa Vinashini Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Patni Manoranama Dehi Manovratanu Sarana Tarinim Durga Samsara Sagarasya Kulodbha Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Yashodehi Dvishodehi I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi Dvishodehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yashodehi wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. No, you can show me. Rupam Dehi, Chayam Dehi, Yasho Dehi, Tvisho Jehi. Rupam Dehi, Chayam Dehi, Yasho Dehi, Tvisho Jehi.
It was longer.
This video was brought to you in part through the generous support of Tibet House US membership community and viewers like you. To learn more about the benefits of Tibet House membership, please visit tibethouse.us. Thanks for watching. Tashi Delek.